Hello everyone, welcome to the show, and let me introduce our special guest, Tyler. How are you doing today, Tyler? Well, I don't know why I had to stand up and look at a camera while I'm doing an interview, but I'm doing alright. Alright, Tyler, we're going to start off with a pretty simple question. As a pre-service teacher, what do you consider your personal teaching philosophy? Well, to begin, my perspective on being a teacher and the responsibility derived from teaching as a profession takes on a greater function and greater meaning than was traditionally considered within an educator's role. One that denigrates the individuality and self-actualization of students to ensure that they simply absorb and retain pure knowledge. A pedagogical process which Bell Hooks described as the rote assembly line approach to learning, which she recognized as a fundamental force behind both teacher and student apathy. Rather, my teaching philosophy is more greatly focused on supporting the positive development of students' self-actualization and self-image. By adopting an interpersonal and communicative approach towards teacher-student as well as teacher-parent communications, my hope is that many barriers, including personal and community variables such as socio-economic backgrounds, can be broken down to ensure all my students are both willing and eager to learn. By adopting a philosophy of learning which is almost entirely student-centered, teachers can further ensure that students' educations are tailored and approachable by each individual student, regardless of barriers, which results in a willingness to learn from the entire classroom. As Nell Noddings put it in a simpler term, the student is infinitely more important than the subject matter. Well, besides adopting an interpersonal approach to learning, what more can you do to ensure that students are actively engaged in the classroom? Well, perhaps fundamental to my view of teaching is the theory proposed by Paulo Freire and expanded upon by Bell Hooks, which speculates that education should focus on teaching as the practice of freedom, that students are not merely blank slates which teachers endow with knowledge for 6 hours a day before they go home, but true individuals which come into the classroom with their own preconceived notions of community and education, whose individuality should be supported to ensure they enter the world with critical minds and a willingness to both participate in and positively transform the world. Think not of students as a stack of dull paper which teachers write math calculations and classical literature on, but more so full and complete books. In the same way that no two sets of books are entirely alike, no two students are alike also. They come to school filled with their own different backgrounds and prior knowledge, and by recognizing this fact, teachers may begin to educate as a practice of freedom, to support in their emotional and individual development so they may begin to achieve a sense of self-worth and actualization. As Bell Hooks said, to teach in a manner that respects and cares for the souls of our students is essential if we are to provide the necessary conditions where our learning can most deeply and intimately begin. Yes, but what methods could you use in the classroom beyond supporting self-actualization? What teaching style is best suited for student development? Well, I describe my approach towards student learning as a humanistic style of education, a style which emphasizes the individuality and happiness of students, as described by Nell Noddings, whilst applying the Bell Hooks' theory, which highlights education as a practice of freedom. Self-actualization in the classroom, in terms of my humanistic interpersonal style of education, extends beyond simple individuals. It also emphasizes the formation of strong interpersonal skills between students as a community, whilst also breaking down social norms to help form new, more positive, more inclusive meanings which do not disparage students and allows for more engaged learning experiences. Though Nell Noddings structured her personal educational philosophy towards the ethics of care and the well-being of students, I would go further in describing this humanistic style of teaching as the theory of empathy. Personally, I see empathy as an indispensable force in education, which students must develop with teacher support through transformational and progressive teaching styles, which focuses on the freedom and individuality of learners. Bell Hooks described this holistic model of teaching as engaged pedagogy. By adopting the aforementioned student-centered approach towards education, teachers can more effectively influence not only students' learning, but also their sense of self-worth and engagement to allow for self-actualization and the formation of positive, constructive, and productive identities which they may then take out into the world. Alright then, one final question. How will this transformational style of education be used in the specific classes you want to teach? As described by Mary Garrell, there's a school of teaching philosophy which she dubbed the Waldorf School of Education, which applies transformational teaching theory through the curriculum. In personal terms, my passion is history, and one of my goals as a future professional is to help not only tailor history education to individual students through the progressive teaching model, but also support in their development of their empathy and positive identities through the study of history. By approaching history education with a focus on multiple perspectives of sources and examination of why, not just what occurs, my hope is that all of those in the classroom walk away with a further eagerness to approach their view of the world more critically, as well as participate in their communities more positively and constructively. This being key to the progressive education as teaching the practice of freedom as described by philosophers such as Paulo Freire, but especially Nell Noddings and Bell Hooks. Alright, thank you for that, Tyler. And thank all of you at home for watching this special on Tyler's teaching philosophy.